Hey everyone, welcome back to Elite Tech Club. I'm Saeed, and today we are diving into one of the most fundamental topics in JavaScript, variables and constants. If you're just starting your coding journey, understanding this is absolutely essential. Let's get into it. First of all, let's see what really a variable is. A variable is like a container that holds a value. Imagine it like a box with a label on it. You can put something inside, take it out, or even replace it with something new. This box is labeled name, and inside we've placed the value David. Later, we can change what's inside, maybe to happy coder. When you define a variable in JavaScript, you're doing three things. 1. Declaring the variable. 2. Naming the variable. 3. Assigning it a value. Let's look at this line again. Let is the keyword. It tells JavaScript you're declaring a variable. Age is the variable name. It identifies the container. Equal sign is the assignment operator. We will come back to it later. 30 is the value assigned to the variable. You can declare a variable without assigning a value right away. This is called declaration only. Here, we declared score first and assigned 100 later. But most of the time we do both in one line, declaration plus assignment, like this. So, you separate them only if you don't yet know the value. If we know the initial value, it's always a good practice to do them in one line of code. In modern JavaScript, we use let and const to define variables. But what's the difference? Let is used when the value can change, and const is used when the value should not change. Let's see them in an example. Using const protects your data. It tells other developers, hey, don't touch this. It's not supposed to change. It makes your code more predictable and less prone to bugs. Let's talk about naming your variables. This is more important than it seems. We are allowed to use letters, digits, underscore, and $sign. On the other hand, names can't start with a number. Also, no special characters like @, hashtag, and %sign are allowed. Additionally, we are not allowed to use reserved keywords in JavaScript, like let, const, function, and others. Also, names like A, X, data1, and similar names aren't allowed. They don't explain what the value is. It's always good to stick to best practices, like using camelCase notation. Of course, we should make names meaningful, like price, user email, and so on. And we should always be consistent when it comes to naming variables. Good naming is what separates beginners from pros. Your future self will thank you when your code is clean and understandable. Cool, now is the time to see everything we've learned in action. So here on the left hand side you see the IDE VS Code, and on the right hand side you see the browser and the developers console open. So beginning with the IDE, we have a folder called variables. It holds two files, index.html and script.js. In our HTML file, inside of the body tag, we only have the script tag with the src attribute, which basically connects the HTML file to the JavaScript file. And the script file is literally empty. These are only comments, so comments are like more information that we add to our code. They don't get executed. Sometimes we use them for debugging purposes. Later on, we will come back to them. But for now, just be aware that we are not executing these lines here. Okay. And by the way, we add them using two forward slash. So yeah, okay. And now we would like to add some code, or to be precise, declare variables. We have two approaches, as said before. One is to declare and assign the variable in one single line. The other one is to separate declaration and assignment. So first, let's do them in one line. So let as a keyword, then the variable name, choose username, then the assignment operator, which is the equal sign, and then the value of the variable, for example, Nicole. Then I would like to log the value of this, or log this variable to see what value it holds. So if I save this file, here in the developer's console, you see that Nicole is printed. Side note, it's not mandatory to add semicolon to the end of the line, but it's always a good practice to do so because it's required in many other programming languages. But in JavaScript, when you only have like one line of code in each line, it's not required. But as I said, it's better to be very explicit about that. After that, there's the possibility, and it's really common in when it comes to writing programs, that you change the value of the variable. In order to do so, we can simply assign a new value to it. So here I will assign a new value, for example, John, and now this variable holds this new value. So if I log the username again, here you see that it holds John, which is its new value, and it does not hold the previous value anymore. So you can reassign values to variables. And here there's also another thing that I would like to cover. So we can separate declaration assignment. So for example, I declare a new variable called score without assigning any value. This is basically used when you are not sure or you don't have any idea about the initial value of a variable. So you know that at some point in the future it will hold some value, but you don't know the initial value of it. So here I set it to, for example, 100, and then I log the variable name, and you see that now 100 is printed here. Now let's declare a variable using the const keyword to define a constant. So we use the keyword const, then the variable name, for example, birth year, and then we assign a value to it, for example, 1995. And then I would like to log its value. So log birth year, save the file, and here you see the value. So two important notes here. First, we would like to use constants to inform other developers and even our future self to know that this variable should not change. And another benefit of using constants is that whenever that value at some point changes, for example, consider a threshold or some value that can change over time, then we only need to change it in one place and not, go and find it everywhere in our application, in our code to change it. And this really makes our program error prone if we don't define it as a constant. Then here we also would like to see the best practices for naming variables and do's and don'ts. So here, if I try to name a variable like this, you see that even the IDE complains about that. And if I hover over that, it says that an identifier or keyword cannot immediately follow a numeric literal, which means this is, not allowed. Also, if I use a special character like @ here and set it to a value like this, again, the IDE doesn't allow me to do so. And if I save the file here, you can see there are invalid or unexpected token. So these are not allowed. Also, I cannot use reserved keywords, such as, for example, if I do something like this, so if I remove these two lines, you can see that let is not allowed to be used as a name in let or const declaration. So where I'm not allowed to use use keywords, as variable names, as said before. And next, let's see some valid variable naming and best practices. Let favorite food. Here you see the camelCase notation. For example, pizza. Can add another comment here. See that to say that it's camelCase. Other than that, I can name a variable using underscore. For example, underscore name. It's also valid. And let's set it to Tom, for example. And also we can use $sign. So let, for example, $sign amount, and then set it to this value. So all of them are valid, and we can use them. So if I save this file, you see no problem, no error, and yeah, everything is fine. Let's recap what we learned today. Variables are containers for storing values. You can declare variables using let and const. Use let when the value changes and const when it doesn't. Follow naming rules and best practices for clean and professional code. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more JavaScript content, and leave a comment below telling me what topic you'd like to learn next. Thanks for watching.